Well, this darn thing has to make a bunch of noise. So the story behind this 3D printer is my son bought this really cheap one. I thought it was a good deal. Anyway, it didn't turn out to be a very good printer. He decided to upgrade, and I upgraded, and so I took his old printer and decided I was going to make a winder out of it. I've been using this for years, but I've never had to wind a multi-section core. I had to come up with this for some jobs and basically 3D print this core out and then figure out the G code to make it work. The diameter or the length around the outside of the core as it's wrapping is one factor. And then you have another factor of how far you've got to wrap it, how fast you're going to wrap it, how close together you want everything. And so there's this balance between speed and distance and all that to make it work. I spent the whole day yesterday working on this. I think I finally got it. I did a test where I would wrap one section, go to the next section, go to the next section, go to the next section. But I would wrap each section 3 times. So I know the width would be correct for the bobbin width. And then it would jump over to the next section like it's supposed to. So this is the final test. And I put a bunch of stops in it just in case I needed to be able to do something, realign it or whatever, you know, in mid wrapping. Hopefully I won't have to. Try to make it where I hit the right stops and get the right distances, and it should work like it's supposed to. And this is a high voltage transformer, so there's a lot of wraps on this thing. And that's one reason why I don't like to hand wrap them, because resistance has to be perfect, and the only way I could really count it is through the G code and knowing about how many wraps I've got. I already ran into my first problem, and I don't think I had the stopover quite enough. So let's set it up. Maybe that'll work. Another thing I might could improve is this. This thing is actually kind of loose, floppy. But see, this is my concern. I don't have enough over here. So I have a feeling I'm gonna have the same issue. That's the whole thing, is just trial and error until I get it right. Okay, I got it set right. The problem I was having is this bobbin had come loose because this is pulling really tight. And so sometimes if I don't have that bobbin tightened enough, it'll loosen up. And it's mainly because yesterday I spent so much time messing with it. But so far, it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to now. Pretty good. I forgot to mention this problem. Honestly don't know what the problem is with this machine, but it's junk. I figure I'll just run it until it stops. The hard part about this is getting it in the right spot to start with. That's where I'm struggling right now. I need some way to align it, because that's where I've got an issue where it's not quite aligned. Looks like I'm a little heavy on the left side on this. And here's the moment of truth. Is it actually reading the G code, or did it quit? It looks like it's trying to read it. It's another kind of a weird thing where you jump across those. Got to get it just right. So far it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's usable. Still hanging in there despite this. It's reading the G code. The whole point of this is to pull this off, cut the wire, and test the resistance so I know it's the right number of wraps. If it's too many wraps, you know, the resistance will be higher than it should be. I'm pretty sure I can gauge by the resistance how many wraps I need. Right now I'm using 9 per section. Okay, we've made it to the last section, even with this. You can see down here, this is pulling this big spool, is going through this tube, going over this. I could put it over this, but it's a little too tight to run it over that, so I'm just running over this, and it goes through this little makeshift compression setup to it straightens the wire out as it's going in. If I'm reusing this wire because I'm pulling it back off, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it might be a little bit wonky on this one because I've wound the wire so many times, but it's all plastic. It doesn't seem to hurt the enamel. I think this is the last wrap. You know, if I made this a little more rigid, it might work better, but I've never needed it to be so accurate, so I'm gonna probably have to tweak on this design a little bit just to get it more accurate. It finished. It actually finished wrapping that thing. That's what it looks like. That's pretty awesome. Okay, I measured the resistance. I'm off by basically 1 wrap on every one of these. I did a little bit of math to figure out the resistance for each wrap, and it's about 0.24 ohms per wrap. I'm almost 1 ohm off from the originals, which is this one. So that means I need 1 wrap for each one. I don't know how it's going to work out because it goes from here to here and back and ends up here when I'm wrapping it like this, because it's an odd number. But I have to go with an even number now. So it's going to go here to here to here, end up here, and then have to go all the way over here. And we'll see how it works. It may work better, so let's give it a shot. Looking pretty good. Actually, I think it looks better than the other one with the odd wrapping. I think it just looks more uniform. This should be right. I'll take it apart and we'll see. We'll test the resistance on it. Here's both of them side by side. You can see the difference. This is uneven and this is even. So I think this looks better, plus this is what I need. I'm fixing to test it to make sure we've got the correct amount of resistance. Then we'll put it on a board and put an E-core on it and check it out. Looky there. Perfect. It'll work identical to this one. Let me show you the resistance on this one if I can get it hooked up here. There may be a slight more resistance because I've got a little bit longer leads out to these pins. But look at that. Very, very little difference. These will match impedance with the original transformers on the Zaribas. We just got to put it inside a core and check it out. This is what it looks like. I may come up with something for this, because if you'll notice, they've got a thing that offsets everything here. Here's the back side of it. Looks good. It fits well. And the most important part is that if I measure the resistance on this coil, it's 9.969. If I measure it on this new coil, 9.7. Now I just need to test it. I got to rebuild another board, then we'll test this out. Okay, I got this board fixed and set it up. Here's our new transformer. I've got it under a load and it's acting perfectly fine, normal, working great. And here is it working without the load. It's typical 9.5 to 10K on these.